Yeah, hi everybody. It's Adrian Hanks here on my absolutely brand new show, and I'm really excited about being here. And a big welcome. So yeah, firstly, thanks for Sarah for having me join this amazing community. And I am here live from the Gold Coast. I moved here a few weeks ago from Sydney, and it's really exciting to connect to the community here. I lived in this region previously for a few years, so it's nice to connect with some new people and, of course, some people I've already know. So, Adrian's show, Where Am I Right Now, in terms of my life mastery? Because life mastery is such an important thing to get under one's belt. How do we work with life mastery? How do we work with that every single day to bring more life mastery into our lives? And this is something I want to bring together on this show each and every week with you. And the best way to get that happening is to get a few questions answered that you may have. So the first thing we need to do is establish a way for you to ask me some questions. And a great way to do that is to post them on the Facebook page. And I will try and get up with the technology and to be following this and working with it. So I'm going to have my phone with me because I'm live here on the Zoom, and then the Zoom will go live stream straight onto the Facebook. This is the way technology works. So I'm just going to tune in right now into my phone, and if you have any questions, please ask them on the spiritual events directory, if I can find that, and then we can certainly ask and get some of those questions answered for you. So I did have a question that was asked of me previously by somebody. I said I would share straight up in this live broadcasting, and that is that question of how do we stay focused every single day? What are some of the techniques to use every single day to help us to stay in alignment with that space of life mastery? And there are a few things that I use personally and things I share with people I work with, my students and my clients and other people in things like webinars. And one of the key important things for me every single day is self-evaluation. How do I evaluate myself every single day to make sure I'm in alignment with all those things I want to be in alignment with, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and all those other aspects? And there are a couple of key ways that I want to share with you that I will keep repeating every single week in terms of keeping this process going. And one of them is asking ourselves every single day, where am I right now? And a great process for that is to set your clock, get your phone, get your clock set on here, and go into the alarms. And when you're in the alarms, set the alarm on the hour, every hour, to go off beep beep. Let's say from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. And when you hear that beep beep alarm go off, you simply ask yourself the question, where am I right now? Physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And you can ask yourself other questions too, where I'm in my relationship, where am I right now, my creativity. But if you just do those four basics, where am I right now, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, in that moment, when you hear that alarm, you can choose to bring yourself back into alignment if you're not feeling like you're in alignment. It's a very powerful technique to use, because in that moment on the hour, every hour, you can make that choice of bringing yourself back into that place of choice and bringing yourself out of that place where you're not in alignment. You may be in some conflictual situation. You may be scattered in your mind. You may be in a situation that's not conducive to you. So it's a great process to be able to bring yourself back in each hour. And however long that lasts is entirely up to you. Sometimes it lasts a few seconds, of course, and then we're back into the whole, journey of life and getting caught up in different things. Or it may last a few minutes, or it may last, quite a long time. But if you do that on the hour, every hour, it's a fantastic reminder. So that's one of the key tools or resources that I share with people. And just to get you acquainted with me and my work, if you want to check that out, you can go to my website and download a few free things. And the other thing I want to share with you is, which is a bit of a download, if you want that as well, is the Where Am I Right Now journal. And in that journaling, you can do this daily. And once again, you can ask yourself that question. And I say to people, do this at the end of the day when you've already had your day, and then you can ascertain how you've been during the day. So where am I right now? Physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, vocationally, sexually, intimately, financially, socially, creatively, and any other areas you choose to ask yourself. But if you get the journal and you do some journaling every single evening, I would suggest, it helps you to bring yourself into alignment where you realize you did things well during the day or things the following day can improve. So they're two key things that we can use in the Where Am I Right Now life mastery process. So you can take those on board and you can use those. And the other thing I'd like to suggest to you is, if you get a chance to, is I'm the author of Where Am I Right Now, great book for you to follow. And there's some great other techniques in there that I'll be sharing with you over the duration of the time I share with you every week for 1 hour on this show. So I'm just going to check in to see if there are any questions so far. I'm just trying to get the get this happening here to see what's happening. See if there's any messages. I'm trying to get the technology working because this is all very, very new. And always a question for me is when I'm working in something like this is, where am I right now in my own journey, in my own process of, doing something new? Because when we do something new, there's always that hesitation, there's always those challenges, there's always those aspects of where am I right now in this process for myself? What's happening for me myself? Where am I feeling comfortable? Where am I feeling nervous? Where am I feeling out of touch with something? And technology for me is something that can be quite a challenge. And particularly when it's something brand new like it is right now, and I'm going, okay, where right now is where are the questions coming up for me from people watching in? And I'm just trying to read something here now. It says, ask your audience to put a Q at the beginning of a question so I know it's a question. So then I have to say, right, where are the questions for me? Where is this site that I can see myself and see the questions on the site for this live webinar that I'm doing with you right now? So I'm currently laughing at myself in the capabilities I have of my ability to connect to the site and to the Zoom, because I said it's absolutely brand new. So please bear with me while I try to work this absolutely new system out for myself, and we will see what we're doing. We've got the directory community, and I'm sure in a moment I will see myself pop up on the screen doing a live webinar. Let's see if I can find myself in here doing a live video, and I think I've just about got it. There it is, and so I can see myself on here, and I can see there are other people listening in and watching in. I'm just going to click that. Here's Andrew and Ariane and Yvonne and Jeanette and Lisa and a few others too. So now I need to find out where Adrian's questions are on this here as well. So I'm just going to make a look for comments. Morning, Adrian. Yes, here we go. Here's one here. I'm just going to read. So apologies for the slowness of this because it's It is a little bit new for me. I'm trying to find. Okay, so there's a question here, and when somebody says, left husband in January, since had a stroke, how can I move on knowing things will be okay? Okay, it's an absolute great question. And what I'd want to share with that in terms of will things be okay, it's how do you want things to be? How do you want things to be? Because my belief is we can empower ourselves to make things the way we want them. And how we do that is we set the intention for how we want things to become. So, for instance, you obviously, a critical time for you right now, your husband's had a stroke. You want to know if things are going to be okay for you. My first question for you would be, how do you want things to be? If in terms of the life mastery, what do you want to bring into your life? Physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, in terms of support, which is probably an important thing for you right now. So I would say, take a moment for yourself, and taking moments for ourselves is a really important thing in terms of life mastery. So this will be, take a moment for yourself and ask yourself, how do I want things to be for myself? And then maybe take a pen and sit with a pen and some paper and actually get clear on what that is for yourself. What do you need to bring into your life? Because this is all about self-empowerment. It's all about bringing the things into our lives that we need to bring in for ourselves, the things we really need to take ourselves forward into that new paradigm. So currently, obviously, if you're dealing with somebody, your husband's had a stroke, yeah, and you're having a difficult time, and in that space, now what else did you say in that? How do you move forward? Well, the first thing is obviously you need to be there for your husband, but you also need to be there for yourself. Do you have a support system around you? Are you taking time out for yourself? Are you making plans for yourself and for your husband? Because that's how you know it's going to be okay, because you're taking control, because you're taking some action to make it right for yourself. So it's all about self-empowerment. It's easy to say, there's a beautiful saying, and I don't want to be too controversial around this, but there is something about being in the flow, but it's also about making plans to stay in the flow. And the analogy I use is, I can go down a river and I can be in my boat and I can have my oar, I can go with the flow of the river, but sometimes rocks appear. Sometimes we get a bit too close to the bank and we have to get the oar and push ourselves away from the rock or push ourselves away from the bank to keep ourselves in the flow. So it's about how to keep ourselves in the flow, but also taking a little bit of control to keep ourselves in the flow of that element. So for you right now, to know things are going to be okay, is I would suggest you need to make some plans for yourself. Yeah. You keep saying, I'll come back later. Okay, so the comment here is, let me just read the comment. You keep saying, I'll come back later. Okay, so it sounds like there's a bit of a process for you now about making decisions for yourself about, being with your partner, being with your husband, or not being with him, with his thinking you're going to keep coming back to him. So this is where the communication has to happen, with yourself, with a therapist, with a friend. I will say, friend conversations and therapy friends are quite different, but you can get the support. But also maybe having that deeper conversation with your partner, with your husband, and finding that space. I don't know what the communication is like between you, but can you sit down and have some clarity, some clear speaking? Because part of the life mastery process is conscious communication. Absolutely about conscious communication, taking the courage to speak. I have that with my partner. Sometimes finding that courage to speak to one another about difficult situations, difficult tasks, difficult aspects of your relationship. So that'd be one thing I'll say to you. Find the place to communicate consciously, bring that into your life mastery, and then make some plans for yourself, and then maybe he would need to make some plans too. So I hope that does give you a little bit of clarity. If there's anything else for you, the person asking these questions, then please type in the question. I've now managed to come to the Facebook page where I can read the questions, which is a big big step forward for Adrian in this new process, and all I can do is have fun with it. You know, I can have fun with myself in terms of my own life mastery process about bringing in something new and trying to stay focused with it, not panicking around it, and then working through you. I've just got to thank you. So I think that's probably answered the question in some way. If there's anything else you need to know from that questionnaire, then please do ask, and we can keep this conversation going as well. This is the first time we've been on here, so it's going to take a little bit of getting used to in terms of the way we do communicate. Obviously, I'm reading the messages on the Facebook, and then I'm responding live as well, rather than typing in privately. So I'm being a bit cautious about, obviously I don't want to name anybody for anybody listening in if you're not seeing the message anyway. So any other questions out there? Any other continuation from this question, or has anybody got any other questions in terms of that life mastery? What do you need to bring into your life? Because I can keep bringing things, but I really want to get the interaction going, if I can, with some questions. And I've just got Lorna saying, yeah, you're here. Yes, Lorna, I am here. It's taken a bit of getting onto here. And as you know from doing your own show, it does take a bit of get it going and getting a bit used to. But I feel like I'm in the swing of things now and getting moving. So I'm just now waiting to see if there's any more questions coming up. Otherwise, I'll keep talking a little bit about the life mastery processes I have here. Okay, here's a question here. Hi, can you tell me in general how I'm going with my life direction? Well, Nicole, I will answer that. I'd say you're probably going really well on your life direction. The fact that you're actually here doing something for yourself, yeah. But one thing I want to get clear on in my shows, I'm not doing any psychic work. I've chosen not to do any of the psychic abilities of tuning into people and trying to give any readings. It's not how I'm going to do this show. There are plenty of other shows doing that, and they're doing it really well when they're tuning in psychically to see how people are going. What I want to bring on my show in terms of the life mastery is to get people to start looking and their own empowerment of how can they empower themselves with some of their own choices as well. So it's all well and good, you know, having some support with people who can see psychically and choosing and supporting people from what they glean or what they intuit or what they see. And you know, many of us have those abilities. But in this process here, Nicole in particular for this and others listening in and watching in, is I want you to try and bring in some of the life mastery processes that I work with to enable you to empower yourself to begin things like journaling, to empower yourself with things like getting into your deeper meditations. Because when we get into that self-empowerment, as well as getting that support system around us, it's a very, very powerful place. So I do both. I have my own tools and resources that I use that I've created. And then I do go and get further support from my support group through intuitive support, psychotherapeutic support, mastermind support. But this particular show is about me helping you to get forward in your life mastery. So in terms of how you're going with your life direction, my first question will be, what is your life direction? Are you clear on your life direction? Are you on track in terms of your life direction, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually? And that's the first part of all this. That's the first of all this. How do you set yourself in terms of your life mastery to put yourself in the position to go forward? And what I say to people is, imagine yourself in the future a little bit. Let's do some imaginative work here. Let's do some manifestation work on what we want to bring in from the future. That's a very, very first powerful thing to do. Like do a vision board, do a writing down of what your vision is, and then ask yourself, how do I need to get there? Do I need some support for people supporting me from a psychic perspective? But also, can I make some choices for myself in terms of that life direction? That's what I'm all about in this show, is supporting you to find some of those choices for yourself. Are you meditating? Are you eating healthily? Are you watching what medication you're taking, you know, from a medical perspective and also from a recreational perspective? Are you doing your exercise? Are you doing all those things? So it's very important questions. I've just got another question here. Yeah, Nicole says, yeah, I believe I am. Absolutely fantastic. So if you believe you are, Nicole, how can you take that to the next level now? What is your next level for today or tomorrow? because I'm a great believer in growth. Otherwise, we get stagnant. So every day is a little bit more. So, do that itinerary for yourself, do that self-evaluation for yourself. And if you listened in earlier, there were a couple of tools I gave. One was the journal, and the other was setting your clock on the hour every single hour. So I've got a question here from Ben, relationships moving on when things end, healthy steps to get better in the routine of life. Okay, so moving on, relationships moving when things end. So when relationships end, a few things happen for us, for Ben. One is we have to readjust to coming out of that relationship. And I would suggest the best relationship we can have when we're coming out of a relationship is a relationship with self. To ask ourselves the questions of what went well in the previous relationship, what did I learn from it that I can take into the next relationship, and what things did I learn that I don't want to take into my next relationship in terms of my life mastery process. So it's a great opportunity to learn about moving forward, getting those healthy steps better, with that routine of your next aspect if you go into another relationship. So once again, it's just taking some time out, maybe dropping into a bit of a meditative, contemplative space and saying, where was I in the last relationship? What worked really well? What do I need to own about what didn't work? I think that's always the first thing. Taking self-responsibility rather than blaming the other for the relationship not working. What could I do better for myself, and also prospectively for my next relationship I go into the next one as well. So same thing, asking yourself the question, where am I right now, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, in my relationship? What did I bring and what can I bring to the next one? So this is all about self-evaluation. So today's show is predominantly, the message I want to bring is the self-evaluation. How can I self-evaluate myself to bring in more life mastery into my work? So I hope that's answered that question a little bit. If you want to know anything further about that, Ben, just elaborate a little bit by just typing in further from that question as well. That really helps me. Because some of the questions are a little bit generic. And if we want to go down that rabbit hole a little bit, then just if you allow yourself to get a little bit more specific, that will be fantastic too. So you can certainly do a bit more specific, you can as well. So it's quite interesting just seeing myself here on the, I'm getting, I can see there's lots of comments coming up here. I'm not quite keeping up with them. I'm having to, let me have a look. Pinned comments. 46 comments are coming up here, and I'm not, newest first, here we go. Let's see what comments are coming up for me. So just bear with me because this is all pretty new. I'm just going to my comments right now. Let's have a look where we're going here. Getting even more comments, but I'm trying to find them. Okay, let's have a look. So Nicole, great advice, thank you. You're welcome. And just bear with me for a moment, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just clicking the comments because it looks like there's plenty of comments on there. There's 47 different comments, but I just need to find my, how to do this, whether I pin or unpin the comments. So somebody listening in could just type in a comment for me, just say, hello, Adrian, or something like that, so I can actually follow this to make sure I'm getting the messages in the moment. That will be absolutely fantastic if you do that for me. Just saying, yes, Adrian, hi, I can see you, I can follow you. That will be a wonderful thing to do. Adrian's going to write a comment. Hello. Hey, Debbie, thank you for saying hi there. That's great. At least I know I am getting the messages. So if anybody else has any questions, and Andrew, hi, Andrew, thank you for that. Hello, Adrienne. It means I am all alive. I said it's interesting doing the first show ever. And it's a great opportunity to test oneself in terms of the theory of what I'm bringing. Because when we're put into a new situation, oftentimes what happens is old stories arrive. Yeah, Renee, hello. I can see me too on the screen. I can't see you, but I can see you writing, Renee. Thank you. And just elaborating on that, when we get into new situations, oftentimes what happens is we go into old story. We bring an aspect of ourselves into the new situation, depending on an old experience, because we have learned behaviors and we have things that trigger us in life. And a big part of the life mastery is learning to see what those old triggers are and what those old stories are. So that when we put ourselves in a new situation, like I am right now, you know, I've done lots of webinars, I've done lots of different shows, but I've always done it off my own platform, or I've had somebody do the platform for me. But in this case, with Sarah and the Spiritual Events Directory, I've taken this on, I've jumped on, even though I'm using the Spiritual Events platform, it's very new for me. I'm not using my platform. So there's part of me that could go into old story and get panicky and go into it and, oh, it's all too much. Or I can bring myself in a new space, you know, smile myself way through it, have some humor on the way through it, realize that it's the first show, give myself some slack, not beat myself up, you know, not get stressed about the situation, but just holding my focus and being present and just enjoying the process and just being with it and recognizing, yeah, look, there's people on this journey with me. You know, there's people here right now, Renee and Andrew and Debbie and others, lots of different things on the screen, and recognizing that in this moment, everything is unfolding and I am doing the best I can do in the situation and bringing in a new story. The life mastery of Adrian, just holding the space for this. And it's a great thing to learn because we all put ourselves into new situations. But the question is asking ourselves in that situation, where am I right now in the situation? So I ask myself, you know, where am I right now in the situation, live on this new show? Well, I'm actually in a really good space. Physically, yep, I'm here. Emotionally, I'm pretty connected to it and I'm not freaking out. Mentally, I'm still very clear and my mental capacity is here and I'm tuning in. And spiritually, I'm feeling actually very supported and open because obviously it's a great big spiritual group here. So just by asking myself that question and bringing myself in, I feel really centered and present. Yep. So the next thing would be for you to ask me a question, to keep this process going now. What would you like to know about life mastery? Is there anything that I've shared with you that you'd like to know more of? Or is there a particular question that's new? So I'm just going to give it a bit of space to see if there's a question there for you in terms of your own life mastery. Because I can keep talking and keep filling the space. There's plenty to share. But I really would like to get this interactive space going where we have a few questions coming up. Sometimes it's about taking the time to ask the question. Like Q&A on the ABC on a Monday night, people in the audience asking questions. They always articulate the question. So just to keep it going, I have a question for you if you're listening in, if you're watching in. I have a question for you in terms of your life mastery. And that is, if you take your average day, I know there's not quite thing as an average day, but if you get a sense of that, my average day, I wake up in the morning. I do something in the morning to get myself going. Is that a meditation? Is that a journaling? Is that some planning? And then it's probably breakfast time. Stop. Are you putting something decent into your mouth? Are you eating well? Are you doing some yoga? Are you doing some exercise? Have you been for a run? What are you doing? Have you stopped for that morning meditation? Is there some morning communication you need to have with somebody? And then you start your day, whether that's work, study, some vocational process you have. How are you going into that? What is your state of mind when you go into that? What's your physical presence when you go into that? And then during the day, do you stop for breaks? Do you nurture yourself? I know many people, particularly if you're work for yourself, stopping for lunch, stopping for morning tea, stopping for afternoon tea, stopping for a mid-afternoon meditation, taking yourself for a walk. All those things are missing in many people's lives. The basics are missing. So I want to ask you a question of, have you got the basics in place? Have you got the basics in place? And if you have, what are they? And I'd suggest you, if you're going to come and listen to my show, it's a great thing to have with you, pen and paper, because I'll be asking you to do a little bit of homework occasionally. And in this sense, I'd say to you, write down what those basics are for yourself, and write out your day, if you like. It's a good exercise. And really be honest with yourself. This is all about self-evaluation. Be honest with yourself in terms of those basics, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, to get you through the day. How well are you doing in that field? Because I've got lots of people I know, like hundreds and hundreds of people, who talk about meditation. They talk about eating healthily. They talk about exercise. But it's a little more than talk. And I don't say that in a judgmental way. It's just a truth of how I know people. So Andrew says here, I need to get some basics into place. Absolutely. So this is what this is about, Andrew. Get your list, write down how you spend, like even this morning, say you got up 6 hours ago, write out what you've done in the last 6 hours. Write it on a piece of paper, write the time of those things you did, and then give yourself an evaluation of how well you did them. And then in the gaps, write down what you didn't do that you'd like to be doing. I'd like to get up and meditate. I'd like to get up and have a healthy breakfast. I'd like to go to the gym. I'd like to go for a swim. I'd like to go for a run. I'd like to have a communication with somebody first thing in the morning. And put in place those things you'd like. Build up your picture of what it's like to be a master of your own life. Because that's what this show is all about being a master of our own life. So Andrew, I say to you, some of the basics: food, exercise. I'm a great advocate for meditation, and I will be sharing some meditations on this show of how to get into and drop into some basic meditations just to help people start that process. As a good friend of mine, Bob, said many, many years ago, he said, meditation, easy. Sit down, shut up, and close your eyes. That's step one. We can do the technical stuff and the more difficult meditations later on, but basic meditation, sit down, shut up, and close your eyes. And I think that's a great lesson for basic meditation, because it's about taking the time, it's about taking the space. So doing that basic meditation. So Andrew, just to further on to that, if you're watching and listening in, what are a couple of things you'd like maybe to know some things on about some of those basics? Do you need some support in there? Or if you do, please, feel free to type away. And Renee's also written in self-empowerment. So Renee, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by self-empowerment? Is that just a statement, or is there a question behind that self-empowerment as well? So keep communication going. Let's have a little bit of typing if you're happy to do that. There's quite a few comments coming in. I'm just trying to find if there's new ones coming in. So I think I'll just going to find Adrian again because I've dropped out. Video's live. Here we go. There's Adrian back again. I'm just going to see if I've got comments because I'm up to about 62. I'm trying to find where those comments are in the comments. Apologies again, just bear with me for a moment because I can see there's lots of comments coming up, but I'm only getting some of these. For some reason. Just got a hi from Acristilia. Leanne. It seems like I need to scroll down somewhere and I'm just having a look where they might be. Comments. So if somebody could just write a little comment in there again, so I know I'm following it, that will be much appreciated. Because as I said, you know, where am I right now? I'm in a space of newness and excitement and bringing this new show to you and trying to work the technology side of things out with going across from Zoom into Facebook Live. That's on another platform I'm not quite used to. So this is a fun exercise today. I'm having lots of learning from this, which is a really good place to be sometimes in terms of life mastery, is challenging oneself to do something very, very different. Okay, Andrew, thank you. I'll have to watch the replay. I don't meditate and exercise as much as I should. I haven't journaled. Sorry, I can't remember the rest because I have intellectual impairment, which affects memory. Okay, so I want to say something a little bit about intellectual impairment that affects the memory. Andrew, a great way to work with life mastery, because I work with a lot of people with, you know, lots of different challenges in life, and a good thing to do with that, even if you're going to be listening to the replay here, is you say, I don't journal, yeah, and you don't meditate, and you don't exercise very much. The thing to do was make a plan, yeah, of what it is you'd like to be doing. That's the first thing I'd say. You know, what are the things you'd like to be doing? If you want to be meditating, you know, make it a wish for yourself. If you want to do exercising, make it a wish for yourself. And I know, you know, intellectual impairment is some, you know, somewhat of a challenge possibly to you as well. But there are ways through that, because we're all impaired in some way, you know, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you know, financially, creatively. We've all got an impairment of some sort. So how do we move beyond that into a new paradigm? How can we create a new story in that? You know, and affecting, you know, memory is a big thing. How do we improve our memory? Well, we can find some tools and resources to help us to do that. Yeah. So life mastery is all about finding tools and techniques to help us to move beyond where we are right now. So thank you. So Nicholas, get rich. What do you mean by that? Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit as well? Is it a statement? Is it a question? Because if it's a question of how to get rich, what do you mean by rich? Do you mean rich by material richness, money richness, wisdom richness? You know, there's many ways to be rich. You know I travel to Africa a lot, and there's many people who are not very rich financially, but they're very rich in their wisdom. They're very rich in their spirituality. So if that is a question, Nicholas, then please, you know, expand on that a little bit. If it is a question on, is it a question of how to get rich? So yeah, Andrew, welcome. I've got a thank you from Andrew. Andrew, you're very welcome. And please do tune in and ask more questions when they arise for you. This is all about getting those questions going. So yeah, Nicholas, if that's a question, get rich, and certainly let me know. And I'm just going to see how many comments are coming through here. I'm trying to find a thread for these comments too. Okay, Here's one here from Diane. Please, I need some guidance for my daughter's relationships. Where is it heading? Well, once again, Diane, I'm not doing the psychic work on this show, so I'm not tuning in and doing any psychic work. What I'm here to do on these shows is to bring in a bit of life mastery in terms of people taking some life mastery into their own lives. So I would suggest with your daughter, where's her relationship going? There's a couple of key things I'd like to bring in. I do relationship coaching. I am a psychotherapist and a guidance counselor as well. And when I work with couples, I say to you, what is your vision for yourself? So a lot of where your daughter's relationship is heading would be dependent on what she wants and what her partner wants. What is their vision? Together. Have they got a plan? Have they got a relationship plan of where they want to go? Have they got regular meetings in place where they actually communicate and talk about the future? So that'll be, my understanding of your daughter getting is understanding, and for you to get some understanding for your daughter about where the relationship's heading. Because it's a choice at the end of the day to start to choose where we want to go in life. And a lot of that starts with the vision, creating that vision. What does your daughter really want? What do you want for your daughter? What does your daughter's partner want for the relationship? And it all starts with that conscious communication. Let's get together and talk and share what it is we want from the relationship. So I would suggest, if your daughter's not in the place right now with a partner to communicate and to share that vision, with themselves or even with you, that will be a great place to start. I say to the couples I work with, for 1 hour every single week, turn off the phones, turn off the TV, turn off the radio, sit with your partner, light a candle, and have a relationship meeting. And talk. And do the visioning. Talk about what's not quite going right in the relationship and see where that can be fixed up a little bit. Talk about the vision of the relationship or where you want to go in the relationship. But it has to be, you have to set some time around that, some time frame, some quality time. So 1 hour per week minimum is a really, really, really good way to do that. Yep. So where's the relationship heading? Well, step one, is going to head into better communication. I'm going to advocate that. Let's start with that. Let's start with getting your daughter and a partner communicating better. I don't know how well they're communicating right now, but just from your question, I'm sensing there could be more. So let's do that. Yeah. So welcome, Diane. I hope that's helped a little bit. And if you want to elaborate a little bit on some of those questions, feel free to elaborate on that as well. It's a little bit hard sometimes having a question come through without too much detail when it's a little bit generic to go too deeply down the rabbit hole. So I'll try the best I can, but I want to bring it back to that space of self-empowerment in terms of life mastery. So I got a question here from Brigitte. I'm chasing a pipe dream with my daughter's father. Okay, so the question is, what's that dream? Are you clear on the dream? Is it a dream that you have or you have collectively? And get clear on the dream. What is that dream? What is that vision? Because from what I'm reading in here, and please, Brigitte, if you need to elaborate a bit more on this, I'm chasing a pipe dream. When I read the words pipe dream usually means I'm chasing something that I don't believe is going to be real. It's not going to be possible. People say, I've got a pipe dream of making $1 million. Well, take away the word pipe and just have the dream, and then start to create the reality of what it might feel like to bring in that $1 million. Because already just by putting in the word pipe, you're limiting the belief. You're limiting the possibility. Because already in that statement, what I'm reading is, I don't believe it. I don't believe it's going to happen because I've called it a pipe dream. Yeah. So that'll be how I would answer that one for you. Get clear on the dream. Don't make it a pipe dream. Make it a dream that you are going to start to believe in, and look at what's blocking the belief system. Start to work in that space. What's blocking the belief system that's actually going to happen? Yeah. So Nadone, to be together, I've done so much work on it, but he's an addict. Okay. So the pipe dream is, the dream is, so let's take away the word pipe, just to further this, and thanks for the clarity, is you want to be together. You've done so much work. but he's an addict. So the dream is, the vision is, you want to be with your partner without the addiction. Yeah, my bright dream, because I've been trying. Okay, so you've been trying for 2 years. So the question is, are you ready to give up? Yep. Yep. Are you ready to give up, or are you ready to give it even more? And if you're ready to give it more, what is that more? What do you need to do to reach that vision, to reach that dream, to reach that goal? And it might be some really hard work, really hard work. But if you can make a bit of a plan on it, what is that plan? Yeah, my friend told us a pipe dream. Yeah, that's your friend's belief system. What's yours? What's your belief system? Are you tenacious enough? Do you have the belief enough? Do you have the courage enough? Do you have the vulnerability enough? Do you have the resources enough to make this happen? It might be that your partner, if he's an addict, needs to go and do some addiction work. You might need to go and get some therapy work around it. And how can you support him in that? There's lots and lots. Yep. Yeah, you think he gave up? Yeah, he might have given up, but there's always a chance he might do some more, depending on the right conversation. So it depends on the vision, depends on how far you want to keep trying and trying and trying. And I say it's a bit hard just reading off the screen. So happy to elaborate a little bit more on that as well. I'm just going to see the thread to this conversation as well, because there's a bit of a thread going. Excuse me again, I've just clicked into live again, just trying to find comments. Clicking into comments. There we go. So I'm just going back into that. Need to give up. Yeah, look, oftentimes with addiction, it's a very, very difficult thing to work with in relationships and partnership, but it's back to that conversation, and it's back to getting the support system around it. So very happy to help out a little bit. If you want to PM me, I can maybe link you up to a bit of support in that, if you haven't got the current support for that, and we can elaborate a little bit on that in terms of just PM me a message around that if you want to as well. Got another question here. I'm losing a little bit of the thread here. I said I'm not quite up to. Let me have a look in here. Question here. Will my mother reconcile with her friend? Once again, this is from Javina. Just letting you know, I'm not doing any psychic work here, but tuning in and into what I think or what I intuit. This is all about bringing in the life mastery. And what I would suggest here for you, Javina, is will my mother reconcile with her friend? Well, what does she need to do? Does she want to reconcile would be the question. Does she want to get back with her friend? Or is that friendship complete and finished? So that's the choice. That's the first part I bring into that, is asking that question. Do you want to get this friendship still happening? And if it does, what's it going to take? Is it going to take some mediation, some moderation? Is it going to take a meeting? Is it going to take some process of forgiveness? Is it going to take some process of speaking one's truth about what it was that broke the friendship? So this is back to conscious communication again. Because one of the most empowering things we can do for ourselves in terms of life mastery is to have that conscious communication. And sometimes that means stepping into our fear, stepping into our vulnerability. So I'm not going to answer that from a psychic intuitive perspective, Javina, because I want to bring that back to people taking that responsibility back in for themselves. So I hope that works for you. Monica, how do we transmute energies external to us and which can disturb our emotional, mental, and psychic balance? Okay, I'm going to share something with you. This is quite pertinent, Monica, and something I work with a lot with people. Because I work with a lot of people, obviously, in the spiritual development and personal development field, because that's my area. And a lot of people work in that field where there are other energies or other entities or different things, different names for it. And a lot of people are in that empathic place, where they're doing great work on the planet as a human being. But the one thing that a lot of people lack in terms of this work is the boundary. And oftentimes we get disturbed by the emotional, mental, and psychic aspects of other energies. And that's really common. I work with a lot of people who have psychic journeys where they feel energies. And I want to share this with you. This is a really beautiful story. There's a beautiful children's story that most people know. There's a very, very esoteric question. And it's the three little pigs with the wolf coming down the chimney. And the three little pigs go out and they build three homes. First one, straw, then sticks, and then bricks. Because what they're doing, they're stopping that energy coming into the home. And if we look at those three little pigs in terms of the physical, the soul, and the spirit, we're building ourselves up physically in our soul and in our spirit to stop those entities coming in, to stop that, if you like, that wolf coming down the chimney into our being, so that we're not disturbed by that. So this is all about building up our boundaries and getting some support and getting a teacher, getting a mentor that teaches how to work with spirit if we're going to work in that area. Because, for me, it's real. For you, it's real. For people watching in, this is real. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be on the spiritual events directory page. But how do we learn to be discerning about the spirits we work with and the beings we work with and the energies and entities we work with, and having the training and the wisdom to stop that affecting us? Because if we don't, it can wipe us out and disturb us very, very quickly. And there's a lot of people even in psych units that have had psychic disturbances or entity disturbances because they didn't know how to deal with it. So one thing I do in my life mastery work is supporting people to bring that boundary into place. And I have a saying, a little bit like the three little pigs, and I have a saying, if it's not invited, it's not allowed in, physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. So my boundary is here, and if I'm working in that space of entities or energies or spirit, if I don't know what it is, it doesn't come in. If I can't name it, if I can't understand its origin, it's not allowed in. I'm really clear, like there's a door here, and it's up to me whether I open that door or not. So that might be a little answer to your question of finding that boundary so that you don't allow that disturbance in the first place. That's empowering. So, Acristelia, I apologize. You say your question is higher up and I've passed it. I am having difficulty here following the thread in the comments, so I may have missed a couple of comments. So, Acristelia, I hope that's how you pronounce your name. If you'd like to type that question in again, I will endeavour to find it, because I am losing a little bit of a thread, because I'm trying to follow the thread on the live Facebook on spiritual events here, and I'm not quite seeing the same thing everybody else is in here, I think because I've also been added in the system as somebody who can change the settings in here. So I'm an admin as well. So I'm not sure if I'm seeing the same as everybody else. It's something I need to check out in this new process I'm in my very, very first webinar live in this group. So I'm just going to jump in and see if that's coming here. Meanwhile, I'm just going to jump into the question from Sarah. Please, some tips on helping my 2-year-old sleep. She wakes at the same time early every morning. I feel she is in tune with spirit. Yeah, absolutely. Look, children, they come down out of the spiritual world, don't they? They land on this planet. They get bombarded with all the different things. They get bombarded with electricity and EMFs and, human psychic thoughts and dreams. So this child has come out of this spiritual world where they've managed to sleep in that spiritual world or rest, and they come down here where everything is so alive. Yeah, so alive. So how do we help children sleep? How do we help children sleep? She's 2 years old. One of the key things that just for a bit of clarity, I've got 6 children from a blended family, 4 and 2, and I've got 4 grandchildren. So I've had to put children into their sleep space a lot over the last 31 years, probably, tens of thousands of times with 6 children trying to put them to sleep when they were babies, particularly around the 1, 2, 3-year-old sleep patterns. And one of the most profound things to help children sleep for me is the state I'm in when I put my child to sleep. So if I'm anxious, my child is anxious. If I'm calm, my child is calm. So whatever you're doing with your children, if they're 2 years old and they're waking up and you go to them to put them back to sleep again, check in with yourself. Where am I right now in my own state? Where is my breathing? Where's my heartbeat? Because when you put the child next to your heart, and they feel the beat of the heart. They all come into rhythm with your breathing and your heart pace and how you are in your soul as well. Yeah. So at the same time, she's waking up early every morning, and I feel she's in tune with spirit. You might want to elaborate a little bit on that, what you mean by that, because she might be waking up early in the morning, and it just might be her natural wake time that you have to get used to for a few months. And then it'll change, of course, again. And just spend that time with her in that wake time for half an hour or so until she's ready to go back to sleep. And just tuning into her, with the cuddles, with the feeding, with the breathing. So it's helping them sleep. She wakes up. Yeah, so she's waking up at the same time every morning. It could be spirit. It could be some disturbance. Yeah, so just check in and tune in what that is. Tune in for yourself, Sarah, what that is. And if it is a spirit, is that spirit welcome? Same question again that I just posed before. If it's not welcome, don't let it in. Just you're not welcome here, and my child needs to sleep. But if it's a spirit that's going to support your child, then maybe tune in and bring that spirit in, and actually spend a bit of time in that spiritual space with your child out of sleep, where you have some nice mum-child relationship time. There's a few ways to work with that. I hope that's helped a little bit. What else have we got here? Just going to see if Christelia's answered again. Just going to click the comments. Yeah, now I'm missing some of these in the thread, and until I work out how to work on that. So Sarah, thank you very much. I appreciate your advice. Welcome, Sarah. And I hope that helps a little bit. Yeah, just trying to read something else. So Christelia, if you have another question, if anybody else has posted a question earlier and I haven't addressed it, please do type it in again, and I will see if I can do that, because I'm not seeing the whole thread here for some reason. I will check with the boss. I will check with Sarah a bit later how to do that, and just to see how I keep that thread going, so I can keep scrolling all the way back down to see where that thread is, because I'm not quite au fait with how to do that right now, but I do promise that'll be there next week, so I will actually be able to follow that thread through. But if you do have that question, you can retype it in for me. That would be much appreciated, so I can actually attend to that question. Amazing how quickly the time goes on this. We're nearly up on the hour, nearly 1 o'clock, so the hour's nearly gone. It's quite amazing how quickly that time goes. And I really appreciate the time that you've put into actually being here with me. And I will be here every Thursday at midday to run the Where Am I Right Now Life Mastery show. And so, if you've got any questions coming up during the week, write them down, or you can PM me, and we can actually put the questions in ready for the show, so you're not typing in during the show as well. So feel free to PM Adrian Hanks on Facebook, or and ask those questions, and I'll put them aside and put them into my file so that I can ask them. And you can do it in a generic way, but if there's something quite specific that you want to know a little bit about, then please, then you can let me know that too. Thank you, Brigitte, for the message. We appreciate too. It's always lovely to get those positive messages. It's really lovely being in a community of positive thinking people. So look, I am coming up to the 1 o'clock mark here. We're a couple of minutes away. So I'm going to leave that in terms of the questions, and I do apologize if you asked a question if I haven't answered it. So please do PM me that question again, so I can address it in the next show in a week's time. But what I want to complete with right now, for the next 2 minutes before I sign off, is just going to ask yourself this question: where am I right now? At 1 o'clock, Australian Eastern Standard Time, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Just ask yourself that question. Where am I right now? Physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Tuning in. And if you're not in alignment with any of those right now, in terms of that 80-20 principle or 90-10 principle or whatever it is you have in your life. What is it that needs changing right now, in this moment? Then make the choice to change it. Make the choice. You may need to change something with the way you're sitting, the choice you've just made, a communication you've just had. You can change that in the moment, right now, and bring yourself back into alignment. And you can do that all the rest of the day. So get your clock, set your timer on the hour, every hour, get the alarm going off, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. And then you can ask yourself that question. It's one of the basics of all my work. So thank you very much again. Really, really, really appreciate you tuning in. And I really look forward to tuning in with you again next Thursday on Adrian's Where Am I Right Now Life Mastery Show. Thanks very much. See you very soon. Ciao.